I got to start off by, unfortunately, some of you MAGA supporters might not like this, but I got to start the show today with some very bad news for Donald Trump. You see, ladies and gentlemen, some would argue this could be the worst 10-day period in Donald Trump's second term. I want you to listen to the CNN pollsters and how they describe the numbers that are not good. In fact, they use the word atrocious to describe Donald Trump's poll numbers. Now, if you listen to Donald Trump and you listen to his MAGA base of supporters, they'll make it sound like everything's hunky-dory and Trump's got great approval numbers. He doesn't. Have a listen to this.
That standing has been slipping over the last couple of weeks. How much? CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton is here on this special Friday. It's been a tough few days for the president in the polls.
Yeah, John Berman, I would say this is probably the worst 10-day period for the president in the polls his entire second term. The numbers are just atrocious. What are we talking about here in terms of net approval rating? Well, take a look. These are all November polls. The best one of the group puts him at 14 points underwater. That's the Marquette University Law School poll, tied for the worst he's ever had in that poll. Fox, 17 points underwater. Marist, 17 points underwater. The Reuters Ipsos poll, 22 points underwater. And then taking the cake, the AP North poll, 26 points underwater. When your best poll has you still 14 points underwater, you know it's truly bad, and it's as bad as 26 points underwater. We're talking about an average well underwater with the deep blue sea, swimming with the fishes.
And now this is all parties here. If you think this is bad, Harry.
If you think this is bad, what is driving these horrific numbers for Donald Trump? Well, why don't we take a look at independents, Trump's net approval rating with independents. Back in January, he was close to even. He was at -4 points. Not great, but not terrible. Look at this number, 43 points underwater with independents in the most recent average of these polls. When you are 43 points underwater with independents, you know you're doing terribly. You can't win with this. If this holds for next year's midterm election, wave adios amigos, goodbye, see you later to that House Republican majority and that Senate Republican majority, very much in danger as well. When you take a look at the Pew Research validated voter survey going back to last year, he was basically even among independents with Kamala Harris. Now he is 43 points underwater. Whatever he is doing with independents, it ain't working. They despise him at this point.
That is just a colossal drop.
Oh, my God, it's a 40-point move.
Okay, that's among certain political groups here. How about what issues may be driving this?
Okay, yeah, so we say that independents are driving Trump's decline overall, but what is pushing independents and the rest of the electorate away from Donald Trump? Away from Donald Trump. John Berman, move out of this screen. Away from Donald Trump. Well, it has everything to do with inflation. It's the cost of living, baby. That is the name of the game. You go back to January, he was 3 points above water. This was the reason why that voters gave him a second term. You look at this, now 34 points underwater. My goodness gracious, that is a 37-point move in the wrong direction.
Yeah, so there you go. Those are the numbers. The only thing maybe I disagree with that is when they said he was underwater. I don't know. I thought that the 400-pound orange orangutan could float, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Those are not good numbers. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. And by the way, his numbers on Fox News polls and right-wing entities are not very good either. But the fact of the matter is that his numbers have been plummeting. And I would start with the Epstein stuff. Even many within his base are very upset with the lack of transparency releasing the Epstein files. Now, listen, we all know why. I believe there is some very damaging stuff in there. In fact, I know. His name is in the Epstein files over 1,000 times. There's a lot of stuff in there that he doesn't want to go public. Maybe some criminal. I don't know. But certainly a lot of disparaging stuff and embarrassing stuff that he doesn't want out. So he has, and his entire administration have been covering this up. This is an Epstein cover-up since day one. We had Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, on the other day, who also said that he believes Donald Trump probably knows what happened to his brother and may even have been responsible. I'm not going to get into the whole Bubba email. I didn't get into it with Mark Epstein, but let's just say there's a lot of embarrassing stuff in these files that Donald Trump does not want you to see. This is a monster cover-up from Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, all the way down. So why are his poll numbers so bad? That's just one reason. Another reason, the economy. Donald Trump said on day one those prices would plummet. It's been the opposite. Inflation has been going up for the last 5 months. And when Donald Trump wants to brag to all of you on how cheap, Thanksgiving is going to be for you and your family, and he mentions Walmart a lot, right? This Walmart Thanksgiving dinner. Well, what they don't mention is last year it was 23 items, and now there's only 15 items in there. So they don't mention stuff like that. So obviously, number two is the economy, right? He also promised he would end the war in Ukraine on day one. We all know that that's not happening. And even if Ukraine and Vladimir Zelensky sign off on this deal, it's a horrible deal for Ukraine because you're giving up land that Russia doesn't own, and you're rewarding an evil, murderous dictator in Vladimir Putin for invading our allies. There is no peace in the Middle East. Donald Trump still says there's peace in the Middle East. They broke the ceasefire deal within a couple days. Both sides did, Hamas and Israel. There is no peace in the Middle East. So what exactly has Donald Trump done? Well, perhaps one of the only things he's done that he promised he was going to do was to pardon a bunch of January 6th insurrectionists, some of whom, by the way, are back in jail. I just read a story the other day about one of those insurrectionists who Donald Trump called a patriot and a hostage who sodomized an underage girl. He's back in jail now. So much for making America safe again, right? So I think that's a big part of it as well. There's no accountability within the Trump administration. Pete Hegseth is a complete imbecile. Kash Patel, and I haven't spoken to one MAGA Republican in my orbit that is happy with the job that Pam Bondi is doing. I don't think anybody is happy with the job she's doing. Kash Patel is a buffoon who has no idea what he's doing. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. should be nowhere near this position. Cosplay Kristi Noem, if she's not traveling the country on horseback, wearing her outfits and taking selfies in front of some chickens and in front of some frogs in Portland, these are not serious people. And there are evil people in Donald Trump's administration as well, like the Millers, like Stephen Miller. So I think there's a lot of different reasons why his poll numbers have tanked. And every single time you see Donald Trump talk about how wonderful the economy is, so many of his supporters are saying, wait, what? I lost my job. My wife lost her job. Our 401k has gone down the toilet. Our stocks are plummeting. I just went to the grocery store and just brought a week's worth of food, and it's 3 times more than it was a year ago. There are a lot of people out there that are very upset. And then there are a group of people that are afraid to admit that they made a mistake in voting for this guy. And then there are obviously his cultists, where he can sodomize a child on video right now and they would still support him. Those are the different types of Trump supporters. But I think a lot within his base are getting extremely frustrated. And like I said, I think it starts with the Epstein files. That's my personal opinion. So this is a new segment that we're doing here on the show. And I'm very proud of this segment.